Alright, so today we're doing another versus battle, and as you could probably tell by the title, we are going to be doing Zoro vs. Law. Now, based on the comments I've gotten on a lot of my videos talking about each of these characters, I think you guys are going to be pretty surprised by my final conclusion to this video. But let's not jump ahead, let me break down exactly what we know these guys are capable of, their prior battles, and just pretty much how I think they scale compared to other characters. So let's start with Zoro, since we unfortunately have not actually seen too much from him in the New World as of yet. So on Fishman Island, he completely destroyed the drunk fishman guy. On Punk Hazard, he watched Tashigi and Monet's battle for like a half hour, then finally, when he thought it was time, he stepped in and ended it in about 15 seconds. In Dressrosa, he embarrassed Pika to the point that I was wondering why they even bothered bringing him. And in Zoe, he stopped Carrot and didn't take any damage from her when she was going all out. I'm not really sure how much it's worth since we don't really know how strong she is, but it seems like in the manga so far she's been regarded as pretty powerful, so I guess it's worth something. She's probably definitely stronger than Hody Jones, so there's that. And like I said, that's all we've seen from him so far. I'm not really sure why this is, but yeah, that's it. Now, something important to consider with these fights is although they weren't really a good tell of his strength since he was so much stronger than all of his opponents, that is the thing. He was so much stronger than all of his opponents. You know, in almost every arc, and I know this is obvious, but it is important to note that Luffy always goes and faces the final boss while everyone else matches up against someone pretty much equal to their power. Just like how it is with all the Emperors we've seen so far, where the Emperor is extremely powerful and then their commanders are also very powerful, but they don't really compare to the Emperor themselves. Luffy's final opponent is always significantly stronger than the people just below them in power. What I think this means is that Zoro is significantly stronger than all of these people that he's facing because he is almost as powerful as Luffy, like right there. I've said this a million times and I'm gonna say it again. If Luffy was 100, then I think Zoro would be either a 98 or a 99. And I know a lot of people come up with like 90 to 95-ish kind of range, and I know I do hear people agree with me with like 98, 99, but that's what I'm gonna stick with. I really don't think that there is much of a gap between the two. The only reason I can even think that people would come up with numbers like that is just because that's how it usually is on crews. Like, they think it might be kind of lame or something if Luffy was just not significantly more powerful than everyone on the crew. But for one thing, not do I just think that that's unrealistic, but I think that that's actually pretty lame. Like, by what right does Luffy just have to be so much more powerful than everyone else on the crew? Why can no one else compare to him? Sure, he is the captain, so he should probably be the strongest, but Zoro has a specific ambition that should give him some kind of edge anyway. Zoro wants to become the strongest swordsman in the world, which in turn would make him one of the most powerful people by far in the world. He would have to surpass Mihawk, who is able to fight on par with Shanks, if not beat him. Mihawk is certainly Emperor level, and if Luffy is trying to surpass Emperor level, and Zoro pretty much then has to do the same thing, then why would there be this huge power gap for him? For that to happen, Luffy would not just have to surpass Emperors, he would have to completely blow them all out of the water. And that's just absurd. I mean, a lot of people believe, and I could definitely see it, that there's no way that Luffy's going to be able to 1v1 all of, if not any of the Emperors, except for maybe Shanks or something. Like, how in the hell is Luffy supposed to take on a Kaido when Kaido is like the size of a skyscraper? Well, Franky, he has Gear 4th, which makes him as big as Doflamingo. Okay, no. Kaido is the size of a skyscraper, not 10 feet tall. And on top of that, for all we know, he's indestructible, so no. But that's a different video for a different time. Let's not get away from the Zoro vs. Law discussion. So pretty much to summarize Zoro so far, he has destroyed every opponent he's fought in the New World. He is about as strong as Luffy, at least in my opinion, and he is destined to become the strongest swordsman. Now looking at Law gets both more complicated and simple at the same time. It gets significantly more complicated because of his devil fruit, which is considered the ultimate devil fruit, but it's really hard to say what it actually can and can't do, since it's been very inconsistent since Punk Hazard through Zoe. It is made much more simple because he's actually fought a powerful opponent who was clearly more strong than him, so we have a lot more to go off of here. So the interesting thing about Law is that I don't think he's actually a very good swordsman. I think that he mainly uses his devil fruit power for almost all combat situations, and the sword is kind of just like a utility that helps with the Devil Fruit, since he doesn't really use it without using the Devil Fruit. And with that being said, I don't really know if it would make a difference if he used the sword that he has or just like a little butter knife. I mean, why would it really matter, the sword, if he's not even making contact with anyone anyway? And it would probably be very easy to be a quote-unquote swordsman if you didn't have to actually make contact with anyone and you could pretty much cut anything just using your Devil Fruit ability. So I'm definitely not going to be comparing their swordsmanship. But the fact of the matter is that Law's Devil Fruit ability is pretty goddamn overpowered, so he definitely is up there in the ranks. But either way, despite that, he got completely shit on by Dofi the entire Dressrosa arc. You could say that he got 2v1'd by Fujitora and Dofi on Greenbit, but that's hardly the truth, since Fujitora just like immobilized him one time, and then Dofi whooped his ass on the bridge and actually just like launched him across the town and took him hostage. I mean, it really was a complete joke up until that point. Then once him and Luffy mount an assault on Dofi, Dofi makes a clone which takes Luffy down to the bottom floor, which would make him, I imagine, not at 100% full power. And despite this, Law gets completely smoked by Dofi. Like, I don't know if Dofi actually took any damage besides what he allowed Law to. The only time I can really recall that Law made any contribution to Dofi's downfall is if he was tag teaming with Luffy, so it was a 2v1 and he had Luffy. When Luffy wasn't helping him, it was just him getting wrecked after getting wrecked, and then eventually Dofi was just toying with him and was giving speeches left and right while just incapacitating him with just his arms, and then he cut Law's arm off. I mean, there was like no resistance from Law. He actually had to play dead to even stay in the fight, so I don't know. I don't think he really gave us a very good showing. And for the most part, that's really all we've seen of him so far. Now, as you probably know if you're not new here, I do consider Dofi to be definitively stronger than Luffy. And I'm not saying significantly, I'm just saying that he would always win 1v1. He's done it before, and I would barely even call it a 1v1 since Law and Luffy were fighting him for some time. And yeah, like, it's not like it was really that close or anything anyway. It was a decisive victory, even considering he was disadvantaged at some point. But I don't think he's significantly stronger. So like I was doing with Luffy and Zoro, if I consider Dofi 100, I would say Luffy's about 97, which would make Zoro 96 or 95, and Law is probably between the 85 and 90 range. So overall, I do consider Zoro to be pretty decently stronger than Law. But what would actually happen in a 1v1 fight? The results might not be the same. In the One Piece world, just because someone has more combat power doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna win if they're hard countered. I don't think that Law really hard counters Zoro, but I do think that his Devil Fruit does give him a decent advantage. The reason that I think Law has an advantage against Zoro is pretty much because of Zoro's strength and Law's fighting style. One of Zoro's greatest assets is his unbelievable endurance. You could easily argue that despite Luffy being a rubber man, Zoro still has more endurance than him, especially after he took on the Kuma paw explosion thing. So one of his greatest abilities is to outlast an opponent by just sheer determination. This, however, is not such a great advantage considering Law's fighting style is an assassination type, so as long as he gets one clean shot in, he could one-shot Zoro. I think the real question here is whether or not Law's room ability can be blocked with armament hockey. And I'm not talking about shambles or any of that kind of stuff, I'm just talking about how he can cut people from a far distance, like completely in half. If that can be blocked by armament hockey, then I don't really see how Law would have any chance against Zoro. But assuming Law is able to, from a distance, just cut Zoro clean in half, that would be a little bit of a problem for Zoro. Now the thing is though, that even if he was able to pull that off, doing that doesn't actually kill someone as far as we've seen, it just separates their body, like in the case of Kinema. So now Zoro is so powerful that I don't even know if Law was able to get that shot on him, if that would be able to stop him. Even if he was cut into 3 different pieces, if Zoro still had his entire torso intact, I think he might be able to beat Law. Sure, he can't really use 3 sword style, but he still has 2 of his arms together, and we've seen the kind of damage he's able to accomplish with just 2 hands. Pretty much Law would have to find a way to just completely execute him on the spot before he's able to get his body back together, otherwise Zoro is just not going to fall for that again, and he would whoop Law's ass. I doubt Law's armament hockey is very strong, so Zoro would probably just rip right through him in one shot, no problem at all, really. So yeah, in a 1v1 fight, I think Zoro would win 60% of the time, but depending on what goes down, Law could definitely pull a fast one on him. I think Zoro does have significantly stronger overall combat ability, but like I said, I think that Law does have some advantages against him. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll ever be able to be proven right or wrong, since it seems unlikely these two would actually fight, considering that they are in an alliance. I don't really see any reason for, even if they do break that alliance, for those two to fight. So I think that pretty much wraps up this topic. If you liked this video, remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave me a comment letting me know what you think, if I'm being ridiculous, if Law is actually stronger than Zoro, and definitely more ideas for future videos, theories, or more versus battles like these, just two characters I could use. Friday is going to be the first non-One Piece video I do on a Friday, so get excited for that. I have some very good ideas. I could not be more excited to do a video not related to One Piece. Don't get me wrong, I still obviously love One Piece. It's my favorite show ever. But you know, 3 videos a week does really wear you down on the whole One Piece subject, so I am excited to shake it up a little bit. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys on Friday.